All right. Good evening. Good evening. I am filling in for Glenn tonight. This is my first time to teach here at Brownsburg, so I hope you brought your tomatoes with you. So I'm not too worried about Levon, but I am worried about Shirley throwing something at me. So, yeah. All right. Well, let's begin with a word of prayer, and then we'll get into our study. So, God, thank you so much for this evening. Thank you for the time that we get to spend studying your word, looking at the life of Joseph and all the blessings that we can learn from him, things about his character, things about your character. Help us to find things that are applicable to us. There's so many things that are just sitting there for us to take advantage of, and help us as we look at these things tonight to be able to look introspectively and to find ways that we can take this story from so many thousands of years ago and to apply it today. We're thankful for this opportunity for us to be here tonight. Bless us as we study your word. In Christ's name that we pray. Amen. All right. Well, we're kind of got a couple chapters to cover tonight in Genesis, first book of the Bible. We're looking at chapters 45 and 46 tonight. We'll spend the majority of our time here in this first chapter. And so we pick up with Judah kind of recounting the story of what has happened. And Joseph is kind of testing the brothers to see, were they as bad to Benjamin as they were me, and those types of things. And so Judah's kind of countering Joseph and saying, look, don't take Benjamin, take me instead. Here's the situation. And so we pick up here in chapter 45, and let's read the first 15 verses, Genesis 45. Joseph could stand it no longer. There were many people in the room, and he said to his attendants, out, all of you. So he was alone with his brothers when they told him who he was. Then he broke down and wept. He wept so loudly the Egyptians could hear him, and the word of it quickly carried to Pharaoh's palace. I am Joseph, he said to his brothers. Is my father still alive? But his brothers were speechless. They were stunned to realize that Joseph was standing there in front of them. Please come closer, he said to them. So they came closer. And he said again, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into slavery in Egypt. But don't be upset. Don't be angry with yourselves for selling me to this place. It was God who sent me here ahead of you to preserve your lives. The famine that has ravaged the land for 2 years will last 5 more years, and there will be neither plowing nor harvesting. God has sent me here ahead of you to keep you and your families alive, to preserve many survivors. So it was God who sent me here, not you. And he is the one who made me an advisor to Pharaoh, the manager of his entire palace and the governor of all Egypt. Now hurry back to my father and tell him, this is what your son Joseph says. God has made me master over all the lands of Egypt, so come down to me immediately. You can live in the region of Goshen, where you can be near me with all your children and grandchildren, your flocks and your herds and everything you own. I will take care of you there, for there are still 5 years of famine ahead of us. Otherwise, you, your household, and all your animals will starve. Then Joseph added, look, you can see for yourselves, and so can my brother Benjamin, that I really am Joseph. Go tell my father of my honored position here in Egypt. Describe for him everything you have seen, and then bring my father here quickly. Weeping with joy, he embraced Benjamin, and Benjamin did the same. Then Joseph kissed each of his brothers and wept over them, and after they began talking freely with him. All right, let's look at this passage. To be fair, we're going to kind of look at some application out of this. So as we start reading and studying this, look for things that we can apply. I'm also going to ask at the end of the class how you see Jesus in this story. So as we begin to delve into this situation, start noting or noticing things, parallels, shadows, connection points between this story and Jesus himself. So just a heads up on that. Yes. This is the New Living Translation. I know it's a little bit different, but I find it easy to understand myself. So, yeah. I love Joseph. I love his perspective on what's happening here in that. Did you notice 4 times? What did he say about how this all went down? God's will. God put me here. You didn't put me here. God put me here. Don't beat yourself up about this. And you see this kind of the cartoons where the jaw drops down and they're like, I'm sure they didn't hear anything from verse 6 to 12 because they're just standing there. Because Joseph then says, look, come see for yourself. It's really me. Look, ask my brother Benjamin. He would really know me. So, it's like they're just dumbfounded that this is actually the situation because they're trying to connect the dots, right? I mean, the last time they saw him, they were all partying. He's down in the pit. The Midianites come. Somebody sells them off. Judah goes, where'd it go? Reuben's like, what's going on? All of this situation. And now they're standing years later in front of the second most powerful man in the world, potentially. And it's their brother Joseph. What an amazing turnabout. I'm sure they're trying to go, how in the world did that happen? One, he's even alive. Most slaves didn't make it through their ordeal with, traveling and the things they had to do, hard labor. And yet now he's in a high position divvying out food for the world's survival. It's kind of amazing. There's a... Yes, John. Yeah, give or take 20 years. Yeah. Sure. And I'm sure he's dressed up in Egyptian garb and, the makeup and the, and it's like, even when you see someone in a different context, it's just like, oh, right, is that really them? Let alone a position of humility coming and thinking or even recognize him as his brother. There's a Chinese proverb that's been going around. I don't know if you watch Bluey at all. Bluey had a long special about this Chinese proverb. So if you're into Bluey, you can go back and read this. But I just wanted you to see this idea is not, it's prominent. So let me just read the proverb. And again, this is ancient Chinese proverb. A farmer and his son had a beloved horse who helped the family earn a living. One day, the horse ran away, and the neighbor said, your horse ran away. What terrible luck. And the farmer replied, maybe so, maybe not. We'll see. A few days later, the horse returned home, leading a few wild mares back to the farm as well. The neighbor shouted out, your horse has been returned, and brought several horses home with him. What great luck. And the farmer replied, maybe so, maybe not. We'll see. Later in the week, the farmer's son was trying to break one of the mares, and she threw him to the ground, breaking his leg. And the villagers cried, your son broke his leg. What terrible luck. And the farmer replied, maybe so, maybe not. We'll see. A few weeks later, soldiers from the National Army marched through the town recruiting all the able-bodied young men for the army. The farmer's son wasn't selected because he was still recovering from his injury. His neighbors shouted, "Your boy is spared. What tremendous luck!" To which the farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not. We'll see." It kind of just summarizes. You look at what goes good in our life, what goes bad in our life, how we categorize those life events that we automatically rush to a conclusion about, oh, this is bad, this is good. How do you know? How do you know how God works in your life? It's a challenge in our own mental space to immediately recognize how God uses challenges in your life. Things that you wish did not happen to you. And unfortunately, a lot of times we just immediately blame God for, why is this happening to me? And we just don't know. There's a hymn that's very near and dear to my heart. God will make a way. I don't know if you know that one. God will make a way when there seems to be no way. He works in ways we cannot see. He will make a way for me. He will be my guide. Hold me closely to his side. With love and strength for each new day, he will make a way. He will make a way. That was, that song has helped me through the years. When things don't go the way that I had hoped that they would. Our oldest daughter was a twin. We lost one of the twins when she was born, and on Kayla's tombstone, we had inscribed, "God will make a way." And, I wish that hadn't happened. I know others in the room have had those situations, the challenges that brings. Gary Smalley, marriage counselor, always talks about treasure hunting those difficult things in your life, finding ways when challenges come to find ways to glorify God in that. I can't tell you the amount of people that we've been able to help along the way when they had similar losses to us, because we'd walked that path before. And, there's sympathy and then there's empathy. There's times you go, I know what that feels like. You lose a spouse. You have difficulties in your life. You lose a job. Your family breaks up. Your situation isn't what you had hoped or even dreamt it to be. How do we look at those situations? I'm very appreciative of this story of Joseph and his reminder to go, you didn't do this to me. God put me in this position to do good. John? Yeah, and again, this recounting of those things and, just how Joseph has a perspective of not bitterness, not revenge, not power-hungry ego. He takes us in and recognizes there's no other explanation that God putting me in this position. God loves the irony. I just see irony so often in these situations, and especially in this one. And so I think we do need to change our language. We do need to not talk about luck or unlucky, but more of a providence, more of an idea of God is directing these things. God is the one in control. And I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned. LeBon. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because we all have stories, right? We all have our own, like, man, why did that happen to me? Why did, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. I think there's a huge lesson to be learned from Joseph here, just of understanding how life works. And again, I mean, if you cataloged what happened to Joseph, I mean, it just seemed to go from bad to bad to worse to worse. I mean, it just constantly, like, there was a glimmer of hope and then there was dash, whether it was, in his family relationships, selling into slavery, encounters with Potiphar, this imprisonment again, the interpretation of the dreams, remember me, and it's just every time it's just like, this is not like, oh, I want to go through this situation, but he was able to look back and see the hand of God moving him into the position he needed to be. And I'm guilty of jumping to conclusions way too soon in that process. Jordan? Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 It takes maturity. It takes an understanding of who God is, to have perspective, to not jump to conclusions, to go, okay, so this happened to me. I wish it didn't happen to me. How will how will I be able to help someone else in the future because I have gone through this? Or is it just poor little old me, another bad thing happened to me again? It's just challenging to me. And it even, when you look all the way through the scriptures, the whole Esther thing, as Nathan talked about again, perhaps, for such a time as this, that I'm in the position here that I probably didn't hope to be, but now I am able to do something that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. Other thoughts on that? Gary? Sorry, yeah. Dave. We'll even read, some of that there later in this chapter of like, don't argue about this. So yeah. Other thoughts? Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 It's challenging. I know it is. It's hard. And again, our timeline is not God's timeline. It's challenging in and of itself. Yeah, Katrina. Yes. Yes. Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that is a great parallel of how we see Jesus. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Good noticing there. Yeah. Excellent. Other thoughts? Good. All right. I wanted to spend a bulk of our time with that, so I appreciate that. All right, let's continue our reading. Let's pick up in verse 16 and read down through the end of chapter 45. The news soon reached Pharaoh's palace. Joseph's brothers have arrived. Pharaoh and his officials were all delighted to hear this. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Tell your brothers, this is what you must do. Load your pack animals and hurry back to the land of Canaan. Then get your father and all your families. Return here to me. I will give you the very best of the land in Egypt, and you will eat from the best that the land produces." And Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Tell your brothers, take wagons from the land of Egypt to carry your little children and your wives, and bring your father here. Don't worry about your possessions, for the best of all the land of Egypt is yours." So the sons of Jacob did as they were told. Joseph provided them with wagons, as Pharaoh had commanded, and they gave him supplies for the journey. And he gave each of them new clothes. But to Benjamin he gave 5 changes of clothes and 300 pieces of silver. He also sent his father 10 male donkeys loaded with the finest products of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain and the bread and other supplies that he would need on his journey. So Joseph sent his brothers off, and as they left, he called after them, "Don't quarrel about all this along the way." And they left Egypt and returned to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan. "Joseph is still alive," they told him, "and the governor of all the land of Egypt." Jacob was stunned at the news. He couldn't believe it. But when they repeated to Jacob everything Joseph had told them, and when he saw the wagons Joseph had sent to carry him, their father's spirits revived. And Jacob exclaimed, "It must be true. My son Joseph is alive. I must go and see him before I die." Kind of a neat concepts of, Pharaoh, the generosity that he shows, that really just shows the tremendous trust that Pharaoh was showing Joseph, to one, even be excited about that. Like, it seems, they're like, "Oh, yay, this is a good thing, that his family is around, that they're still here." I love how all the things that Pharaoh said that he was going to do to Joseph's family. They're going to eat from the best of the land. And again, we're in the midst of a famine at this time, and it's like he is providing everything that they need in abundance. Again, I cannot help but think of parallels with Jesus and God in this situation. Everything they need will be provided. Just come. He says, forget your stuff. Just get in the wagons and come, right? Now, they didn't do that, but he was offering to provide everything for them. All the supplies for the journey, a place for them to stay, even a moving truck, all the wagons. I'm providing it all. I just want you to come and be part of our place here. A very God-like attitude that Pharaoh is showing to Joseph's family. Yeah, Clark. Yeah. 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 Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's good noticing, because again, I cannot help but think that Pharaoh's sitting there going, "Whew, it was a good thing. One, I listened. God put this guy, in my life, and that I actually listened to him, and he's doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing. Very a good situation." John, and then Jordan. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think so, Jordan. Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 That is beginning to show up in the next chapter of just that separation, being in but not of. So yeah, yeah, that's interesting. Um, Jacob's excitement there. Just when you lose somebody, at least for me, I've had those experiences where you dreamt that they were back. That you go in your dreams, they're there again, and you just go, "Oh, where have you been?" I mean, I can't even imagine what this feels like for Jacob to, have lost a son, and for a period of a long time that he's back. He's alive again. Like I don't even know what that would feel like. Um, you just have to pinch yourself. I mean, again, he's just like, I can hardly believe this, but the evidence that I'm seeing, the story has to be true, that all of this stuff just shows up, everybody's excited, and he's experiencing that almost resurrection, coming back to life idea of his beloved wife's son who he showered blessings on. Very interesting. All right, let's continue in chapter 46. Let's read the first 8 verses here. It says, So Jacob set out for Egypt with all his possessions, and when he came to Beersheba, he offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. During the night, God spoke to him in a vision. Jacob, Jacob, he called. Here I am, Jacob replied. I am God, the God of your father. The voice said, Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for there I will make your family into a great nation. I will go down with you to Egypt, and I will bring you back again. You will die in Egypt, but Joseph will be with you to close your eyes. So Jacob left Beersheba, and his sons took him to Egypt. They carried him and their little ones and all their wives in the wagons Pharaoh had provided for them. They also took all their livestock and all the personal belongings that they had acquired in the land of Canaan. So Jacob and his entire family went to Egypt, sons and grandsons, daughters and granddaughters, all his descendants. And then it goes into a description of those people, their names, and the number. So again, just a little bit of geography. Beersheba, he stops there. That is kind of the southernmost point of the nation. In descriptions of the promised land, 9 times there is that description from Dan to Beersheba. And so this is kind of that southernmost point that once you went beyond Beersheba, that then you're out of that area. This is kind of a special place. I just did a short search on Beersheba. Abraham had encounters with God there, when he encountered Abimelech, and it says in chapter 21 of Genesis that Abraham planted a tree, worshiped the Lord, the eternal God, in this location. And then even Isaac had an encounter. I want to read that because I think it plays right into this again. Over in chapter 26 and verse 24 and 25. So again, Genesis 26, 24 and 25. Pick them in 23. For there Isaac moved to Beersheba, where the Lord had appeared to him on the night of his arrival. I am the God of your father Abraham, he said. Do not be afraid, for I am with you and will bless you. I will multiply your descendants, and they will become a great nation. I will do this because of my promise to Abraham, my servant. So again, Beersheba, this place where it seems to come up again with Isaac. I'm the God of your father Abraham. I've made a promise in Genesis chapter 12 to establish a great nation, a great land, and all the nations shall be blessed through those two things. And so then we get to chapter 46, and he's saying, hey, remember this promise. I'm the God of your father, who I talked to here before. Same verbiage, don't be afraid. I will make your family into a great nation. I will be with you. What a great promise. And he says, I will bring you back. Not you, but your descendants. I will bring the great nation here. These, what do we get to? 70 individuals there after we read all those names. Verse 26, the total number of Jacob's descendants was 66. In addition to Joseph, his two sons, there were 70 members of Jacob's family in the land of Egypt. So again, you go down with 70. Do you remember how many came back? Fighting men in numbers. You remember the number? How many fighting men came back from Egypt? From 70, we turn into 603,550 fighting men 20 years and older at that number. So you're probably talking anywhere between 2 to 4 million people coming back up that God is promising, I will make your family into a great nation, and I will bring you back again. What a great blessing that God has. It took 400 years. God works in ways we cannot see. He will make a way for me. It may not even be in my lifetime, but these things are true. God is good at fulfilling promises. And so, anyway, I think little geography there was helpful for me, at least to see some of those tie-ins as they're leaving this special land, and God is saying, I'm going to be with you. You'll be back and be in strong numbers. Joy? Okay. Right. Yeah. Yeah, that is interesting. I hadn't really picked up on that. But yeah, and again, 20 years has passed, and so he's had a family of his own. So yeah, interesting. Yes. Yeah. Not at this point, but yeah. At the beginning, yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure. Yep. Let's finish the reading, and then we'll come back and talk about some Bible truths and how we saw Jesus in this. Let's pick back up. There's a lot of names there. I'm not going to haggle through those. So let's pick back up in verse 28 and read to the end there. So, As they neared their destination, Jacob sent Judah ahead to meet Joseph and get directions to the region of Goshen. When they finally arrived there, Joseph prepared his chariot and traveled to Goshen to meet his father Jacob. When Joseph arrived, he embraced his father and wept, holding him for a long time. Finally, Jacob said to Joseph, "Now I am ready to die, since I have seen your face again and know that you are still alive." And Joseph said to his brothers and to the father's entire family, "I will go to Pharaoh and tell them, 'My brothers and my father's entire family have come to me from the land of Canaan. These men are shepherds, and they raise livestock. They have brought with them their flocks and their herds and everything that they own.'" Then he said, "When Pharaoh calls for you and asks you about your occupation, you must tell him, 'We are your servants. We have raised livestock in all our lives, and as our ancestors have always done.' When you tell him this, he will let you live here in the region of Goshen, for the Egyptians despise shepherds." Again, as Jordan was kind of mentioning, this kind of separation, it's like being in the land of Egypt, but still being separated because of this situation where they had raised livestock, and apparently the Egyptians didn't like the smell. So I don't know what that was like, but so I want to look a couple things. What are some Bible truths in this story? What is true in this story that's always true? We've been asking this question in our Taco Tuesday nights with the teenagers when we come over and study a character. What's true in this situation that's always true? Or what do you learn about God in this situation? So I'll kind of kick this off a little bit since I didn't really prep you for this. Just mention that, good or bad, God is there with you. Whether things are going great for you or whether things are not going well for you, God is still there with you. He's not going to abandon you. I love the verbiage there in chapter 46. It's like, I am going to be with you. It's not going to be, it's not all going to be bed of roses here, but he makes a promise and fulfills that. Another one is God is directing our paths. You look, I can't help but think of Philippians chapter 4 through 7. "Always be full of joy. I say it again, rejoice. Let everyone see that you are considerate in all you do. Remember, the Lord is coming soon. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need. Thank him for what he has done. Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand." The peace that goes beyond understanding happens when we recognize God's there. God is directing our paths. Jordan? Yeah. Yeah. I thought Nathan did a really good job of handling that objection in his weekend, this past weekend. If you didn't hear some of those, he had a really good explanation of that. So, do you have a comment? Interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, good point. One more, and then we'll go to our next question. God is not limited to the outcomes that we could even predict. How in the world could a slave in a pit end up being Pharaoh's right-hand man and saving, I'll just say the world. I mean, that's big, but that whole region he saved because of who he was. How could we even think, oh, that's an option, that could happen? Beyond all that we can ask or think. It's just, we serve a God who is powerful, and we need to understand that. So again, I want to get into, real quick, how do you see Jesus in this? Katrina mentioned a big one there, that forgiveness. I think, man, I see that in the story so prominently of the, especially, there in the first part of chapter 45. He's not holding a grudge. Joseph isn't. These are the guys who did it to him, and yet he's standing there going, don't worry about it. Doesn't that seem huge parallels with Jesus? Father, forgive them. While he's on the cross, these are the people who put him there. I just see that parallel so prominently of that forgiveness and that complete forgiveness. He's just like, look, I have been put here by God to save us. Just that redemption story. It's so neat to see. How else did you see Jesus in this story? John? Okay. All right. So that mediator type of situation between the people and that symbol of God. Yeah, that's a good one. What else, Jordan? Okay. Yes. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What else, Jordan? Justin? Displaced. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Okay. It was not a life of ease. Yeah, there were things that happened that didn't want to have happen. Yeah, good. Again, it's his family. It is. It's the Jews. Even John 1, he was talking about, Jesus, his creation that he created, go, I don't want to do anything with you. I'm just rejecting you. And that's the creation. It's interesting. That whole idea of Jacob's coming to the conclusion that his son is alive. He didn't have all of the evidence. He hadn't seen him. And yet it must be true. I love that verbiage. It must be true because of the things that you've told me, because of the things that I've seen. It must be true. My son is alive, back from the dead. I see some parallels with that one. Yes. Yeah. Joseph, the beloved son, was sent. Yeah. I don't know. I'm more and more convinced that you can ask that question on any part of the Bible, how do you see Jesus in that? Because I think he's strewn through these stories for us to pick up on. So thanks for your comments tonight. Really appreciate your study. We'll pick back up in the next couple chapters on Sunday. So thanks.